So I sampled a new pre-workout, Chris Bumstead's THAVAGE pre-workout. Seems to be doing pretty good. I kind of like the results. Wanted to kind of go into some detail and actually break down some of the ingredients for you guys, see what I kind of think about it. Let's look at some of these dosage amounts that are the ingredients inside of it, and let's see if it's actually efficacious to what it's actually supposed to be doing as a pre-workout. So if you do or don't know, Chris Bumstead is the 4th time Mr. Winning Olympia at this moment in time. He has held a very strong following when it comes deep into the bodybuilding community and bodybuilding industry. He has a following not only from influencers, kids, youth from all ages. Absolutely love him. So I feel like it's only right that a guy like him and such a following that he has, that he would come out with some kind of product and some type of line, hence why he partnered with Raw. So I really feel like this collaboration overall from a business perspective is a very, very good move on his part. You know, he's really trying to create longevity in his career because, as everyone knows, going on stage is something that is a very short-lived life. You're not gonna be able to go on stage forever. I'm sorry, you could have the best genetics in the world. You could have the highest tolerance to drugs. But at the end of the day, nobody is invincible. You will not be able to live 24/7 being on a stage. And at the end of the day, you need something that's gonna be able to create longevity after that and create success after that. I think Chris Bumstead is doing that very, very well with this line. Let's go ahead and dive into some of these ingredients. So of course, I'm gonna include a ingredients list for you guys right here. I'm just gonna be reading off the ingredients. Please follow along with me. So as we see right here, we have the calories, which is gonna be anywhere from 5 to 10 grams per scoop of what you are doing. Carbohydrates, vitamin C, B6, B12, sodium, potassium, all things of that sort. One thing to note, we do see here that sodium is marked as Himalayan pink salt. So in that regard, Himalayan pink salt is a great tool for pumps. It's very good for vasodilation. It's just a higher form of concentrated salt at the end of the day. But you are gonna get pretty much the same effect from any type of rock salt. It's just that Himalayan pink salt is just more so known to have more vitamins and more nutrient benefits to the body, hence why it's more so associated for pumps and nitric oxide production within the body. So that's just something to keep in mind. But like I said, we're not really gonna go deep into the vitamins right now. We're gonna go deep into what the actual ingredients that we are trying to focus on for why we're drinking a pre-workout in the first place. So let's go ahead and start with that first ingredient that we're looking at right there. So we see L-citrulline. So L-citrulline at the 1 scoop is 3,000 milligrams. 2 scoops is 6,000 milligrams. Now, what is L-citrulline? L-citrulline is pretty much an amino acid. We've actually talked about L-citrulline before in my last video, talking about BCAAs and EAAs. I'll include a link up here in the corner. Now, in that regard, what does it do? It plays a very key role in production of nitric oxide within the body. Now, what is nitric oxide? Nitric oxide helps with vasodilation. And what is vasodilation? That is the pumps and the vascularity that we see upon our body that we all try to strive for, that killer pump that we all try to seek out. So L-citrulline plays a big part of that. And in that regard, you need anywhere from around 6,000 to 8,000 milligrams a day to provide for an efficacious dose and have proper bioavailability within the body for L-citrulline to take its effect and have proper nitric oxide production. And in that regard, you know, we're sitting pretty good. Even with 1 scoop at 3,000 milligrams, yes, that's on the lower side, but I mean, for 1 scoop for a regular pre-workout, that's still doing pretty good. You know, for 2 scoops reaching just underneath the low level of L-citrulline, could it be a little higher? Yes, but we're still getting a decent amount for what would be considered 2 scoops. So I feel like it can still check out if you're gonna be 2 scooping this thing. Now granted, yes, if you're 2 scooping this thing, everything else is gonna have to be compensated and doubled, and we're gonna go over that as well. Then we have beta-alanine. So beta-alanine, yet again, another amino acid that we have talked about before. And it just helps to combine both histidine and carnosine together, and they kind of pretty much help to buffer the lactic acid buildup within your body. And what is lactic acid? Lactic acid is that sore feeling that you get in between your workouts and in between your sets that's not DOMS, that happens on site, usually during your workout, in between your sets. That sense of soreness or that sense of tightness that you may feel in certain parts of your body from too much exertion and not enough, basically not enough acid degeneration within that part of the body, causing for there to be tension, pain, even inflammation in certain levels and in certain cases. So it's always something to be mindful of, and it's something that we always try to avoid, because in the end of the day, it's just effects of fatigue. Okay, now with beta alanine, you need anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 milligrams a day for that to be efficacious. And if we're looking at here, we have that at 1,600 for one dose, and then for the double scoop, we have 3,200. So, you know, it is a little bit on the lower side if you're going to be one scooping this thing. It's kind of similar to the one scoop of the L-citrulline. You know, it's where you're pushing roughly around half to maybe 3/4 of what an efficacious dose on the lower end would be. So something to keep in mind. We also have betaine anhydrous, also known as trimethylglycine. If I'm butchering that, please forgive me. I'm not that good at some of these terms when it comes to some of this shit. It's just a naturally occurring compound. It's more so found in beets. It more so helps with power output. So this is gonna help your performance, your overall muscle strength. So you need to be getting anywhere from 2,500 to 6,000 milligrams a day of betaine anhydrous. And if we actually go back and we look at this, so betaine anhydrous is marked at 1,250 milligrams, and it is marked as 2,500 milligrams on the double dose. So it, again, this is just right below the barrier, and that's on the double scoop. Okay, so as we are already seeing, a lot of these ingredients are on the lower side of efficaciousness in the body, okay? A lot of these dosages is just meeting the mark of being on the lower level of bioavailability in the body. And this is something that needs to always be noticed within your pre-workouts and within your searching for pre-workouts. When you're trying to look on a counter and you're seeing all these different choices that's in front of you, and you're just trying to wonder what's the best choice for you, take a moment and sit back and just look at the ingredients. Don't just look at the caffeine amount, okay? Because caffeine is only one tool that's utilized within the gym, but there are so many other tools that can be utilized, so many other supplementations. It's not just the caffeine. So please take a look at your supplement facts. It's super easy. It takes 30 seconds for you to flip the bottle around, and don't just go off of the prettiest label that you see or the craziest label that you see just because it's got a Jack Reaper mask on it and it's labeled as a high stem at 600 milligrams of caffeine, but it barely has anything else in it. That's pretty much a waste of your time as a product. You can get that from just getting a cup of coffee, if I'm just being completely honest. But let's not go there. I don't want to turn this into a rant. Let's go on to the next ingredient that we have. L-tyrosine, an amino acid that we have talked about before on the BCAAs and EAAs video. Please go check that out if you want more information and more deep dive onto that. Helps in the production of dopamine, and norepinephrine to the neurotransmitters. You know, cognitive function is the main choice of that. This needs to be typically anywhere from around 500 to 2,000 milligrams a day, okay? And if we look back again, let's see where we are located at for for the tyrosine. We are at 1,000 milligrams for the single dose and 2,000 milligrams for the double scoop. So there we're sitting good. We're sitting right in the middle. I feel that's a good amount, good bioavailability. We're hitting it right dead center. So that's good for that. They got that right on the money. Next ingredient is taurine. Taurine is labeled as 1,000 milligrams on the single scoop. Taurine is yet again another amino acid. So what you're starting to see, this is more so a stack that's going to be based off of a lot of amino acids. We already have 1, 2, 3 amino acids within this stack that has been marked down. So again, something to be mindful of. And what are amino acids? Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Taurine, again, 500 to 2,000 milligrams a day. Where's taurine located at? We're sitting right there pretty, right in the middle of the mark, between 1,000 and 2,000 milligrams per 1 to 2 scoops. So that is perfect, and we're good to go on that. Then we have this long ass fucking name, which is basically a, how do you say this shit? Inositol stabilized arginine silicate. AKA nitrosogene, or nitrosogene. I'm sorry, I've been butchering these words like crazy today, guys. Anyway, this is one of those ingredients that I am not too sure on, and we're gonna get into the reason why. So nitrosogene, whatever that word is, we're just gonna call it nitro. So nitro, which is a combination of arginine, silicone, and inositol, supposed to help with nitric oxide production. But what makes this awkward is that there's not a lot of studies that have been shown the proper use of this product. This isn't the first time that this product has been used in a lot of pre-workouts. It's, you know, it's one of those mixes that you see as just one big name, hence why they call it nitrosigine. You know, it's very similar to the whole glycer pump, which is nothing but glycerol, but it's been labeled and trademarked as glycer pump within the supplement industry. So it's just something to be mindful of. There is no optimal dose of this stuff. Okay, guys, so that's just something to be mindful of. It's something that I feel I am gonna do a little bit more research into and start to kind of see like what it actually is. Again, if you want to see a deep dive into whatever nitrosigine is, please let me know in the comments. We could do a deep dive onto that because I can't even say the word. Next product that we're going to be looking into is agmatine sulfate. So agmatine sulfate is just a compound derived from the amino acid arginine. So it's just basically a derivative of that same compound. Used a lot of times in pre-workout supplements to help with the performance and energy enhancement and things of that sort. The efficacious dose can be anywhere from 500 to 2,500 milligrams, give or take. So when we look at that, we're sitting at 500 for the 1 scoop, 1,000 milligrams for the 2 scoop. So we're sitting right there in the middle. Again, this is one of those products that it's used in pre-workout supplements often, but the use of it is very, very limited. It doesn't necessarily have consistent studies, but it is a product that's used. Take that knowledge with what you see fit. Now we have, the next is coconut fruit water powder. We won't really get too deep into that because that's pretty much there just to provide a basis for potassium, a basis for your electrolytes. As you can kind of see, he is directing this towards a somewhat of a nootropic direction as far as a pre-workout with a lot of these vitamin stacks inside of here. And you know, that is kind of a dual-edged sword within the community and within your health as a whole. A lot of the times vitamins, especially intra-workout, have a tendency to counteract the production of muscle within the body. Vitamin C is something that's been known to cause this very same thing. Ingestion of vitamin C before workouts have been shown to decrease muscle performance in various different types of settings. So that's the one thing that kind of comes up as an issue when you start to try to mix a nootropic formula with a pre-workout formula and try to put them together and try to get use out of it. So again, it's just something to be mindful of. Next ingredient that we have is alpha GPC, which is just a compound that is a precursor for the neurotransmine acetylcholine because it has choline within it. Now, alpha GPC, again, a very known product within the nootropic community, help for brain function, cognitive function, all those types of things, memory and focus. Now, this is my thoughts when you put this inside of a pre-workout. I honestly feel like it's a waste of time because you don't necessarily have the time for alpha GPC to be effective in the body as a pre-workout. Alpha GPC needs a long time for it to actually be available for use within the body. It can take anywhere from about 1 to 3 weeks for the effects of alpha GPC to have effect on cognitive function. Yes, there is some instantaneous effects to it when you do ingest and you do utilize alpha GPC during your first few times that you take it, but you're not gonna notice a big difference in that regard until about 2 or 3 weeks of efficacious use of it. Now, that's anywhere from 300 to 1,200 milligrams a day of alpha GPC, okay? So we're sitting here at 200 milligrams for 1 scoop and 400 milligrams for 2 scoops. So you're not even close. Like legitly, you're not even close. You are missing the mark. Very, very shy of it. 200 milligrams that's barely anything. You see what I mean? As an ingredient like that, being in a pre-workout, at that amount for 200 milligrams, I'm sorry, but that's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your time. There's no reason for that ingredient to be there unless it's meant to try to sell you the fact of, we have alpha GPC, it's acetylcholine, it's a nootropic formula, it's gonna give you brain benefits, it's gonna make you smarter, because everybody looks at nootropics as smart drugs, which a lot of people don't like to label that as that, because it's not a smart drugs. It doesn't make you smarter, it just allows for there to be better cognitive function within the brain that you already have. It's a waste of time being in there. There's no reason for it to be in there unless it's to sell you the fact that it's a nootropic formula. Caffeine anhydrous now. Just a dehydrated form of caffeine, guys. There's really nothing that fancy about it. You're gonna see caffeine anhydrous pretty much almost in all pre-workouts, because it's the main dehydrated formula that they utilize that's able to remain stable in most pre-workouts. So that's gonna be anywhere from 100 to 400 milligrams a day. What does caffeine do? We already know. Keeps you up, alertness, focus, exercise performance. So we're sitting at 130 milligrams for 1 scoop, 260 milligrams for 2 scoops. So we're sitting somewhat on the lower mid-tier of caffeine amount within this pre-workout. I think that's a good thing. I'm not a big fan of high stems. I try to only use high stems on like leg days or days where I'm seriously drained. Usually my golden amount for caffeine when it comes to me being in the gym, 300-400 milligrams of caffeine, I'm sitting golden. I'm sitting pretty G. If it's leg day, I may go up to 400-500, maybe 600. I feel 130 milligrams for 1 scoop is a very good amount. That's a good entry level for most people. You know, it's not gonna be too much where it's gonna be having you jittery if you're sensitive to caffeine. It's not gonna be keeping you up late, especially if you just take 1 scoop. 2 scoops, we are kind of getting up there, 260 milligrams, but again, 260 milligrams, you're only just 60 milligrams over your average monster. Okay, so I say that so that you can get a basis of an understanding of how much caffeine you are actually ingesting at that moment in time. So in that regard, we are not doing too bad. You know, this is a pretty good amount in my opinion for caffeine. Now, L-theanine, again, another amino acid commonly found in tea leaves, you know, has calming effects. What did I connect it to? Turkey. You know, it's the main thing that puts you to sleep during Thanksgiving. It's that L-theanine and L-tryptophan. It's gonna relax you. Now, it's very interesting that this is put into a pre-workout to try to balance out the effects of the jitteriness that comes from the caffeine, which can be a, you know, it can be a good balancer in certain things. Now, that has to be anywhere from 100 to 200 milligrams. We're sitting at 75 milligrams. Okay, 75 milligrams. For the double scoop, we're sitting at 150, which is better, but not everybody is gonna be able to double scoop their pre-workout all the time. Not everybody wants to double scoop their pre-workout. So for me to have to double scoop this, and this is something that I keep having to go back to, I shouldn't have to double scoop my pre simply for the fact of me getting an efficacious amount of products in my body for their proper use. I'm sitting here spending my money to get this pre-workout, hoping that it does the actual purpose of what I need it to do, and the ingredients that I'm buying it for aren't even at the amount of what they will be proper for my body to even handle. So it's practically just a waste of my time. Look at your supplement facts, guys. It's so simple. When you pick up a pre-workout, look at the supplement facts, okay? It takes 5 minutes to do some research and look at some of these things and see if is that even a proper amount, okay? Now, let's go to the next ingredient. And again, another ingredient that I'm really just not too sure on. We have bitter orange. Bitter orange. I guess they have a chemical called synephrine that is extracted from bitter orange. Bitter orange is most of the time used in teas. It's also used in flavorings for a lot of cooking foods. I have seen it used in a lot of teas. I think I actually have some tea in the cabinet that have bitter orange in it as one of the flavors. Synephrine is a extract that comes from the bitter orange that has some of the same properties, kind of like ephedrine. And what is ephedrine? Ephedrine is a chemical that was used as a decongestion that is also a stimulant at the same time. There's a lot of history behind that. We can also get into ephedrine, you know, if you guys want to, please let me know in the comments. Now, as far as dosages, there's no research. There's no research. So, there is research, but there's not a lot of research, okay? Again, one of those things where
we don't know how much of it is actually needed and how much of it is safe. You know, we see this all the time with a lot of these preparatory blends inside of these pre-workouts. Like, do we truly know what's going inside of this product, guys? Or is it just a bunch of mess? Is it just a bunch of fluff so that you can say, oh, here, I have this fabulous pre-workout for you. Go ahead and take this and this will be everything that you need. And I'm wondering why I'm missing gains in the gym. You know, just a simple thing of that. That's gonna be marked as 50 milligrams for 1 scoop, 100 milligrams for 2 scoops. Again, there's not a lot of studies to show what a recommended dose of this stuff is, guys. And it can vary depending on the amount that it is, the purity of it is. So again, it's just something to be mindful of. Now, next, we have dicaffeine malate, you know. Now, this is a form of caffeine that actually has malic acid wrapped around it, which is basically kind of like a form of plastic at the end of the day. I mean, it's not plastic, but it's similar to a form of plastic. It's more so to help with a delayed effect to that caffeine. So you get actually a little bit of a mini boost that comes from it. So I find that pretty nice. And it's not that much either. Only 32 milligrams for 1 scoop and 64 milligrams for 2 scoops, which is a good amount. It's good so that you don't initially have a heavy onset and then you have a heavy crash afterward. You kind of have a trickle down of how much energy you have, so it's more sustainable. I kind of prefer that. I think that that's a good ingredient to have for all pre-workouts, especially if it's gonna have caffeine in it anyway. Now, next ingredient, estrogen. Again, ingredient that I just don't know. Okay, estrogen. It's no, this is a patented blend now. It's patented, but it's still a preparatory blend. We don't know how much is inside of this blend of what they call estrogen. Now, it is a patented blend of extracts from the Astragalus membranaceus panax natto ginseng, and I'll include a picture of what this plant looks like. And it's claimed to enhance nutrient absorption and supposed to help in the bioavailability of other ingredients. Again, what is that providing me, guys? I just, it's not enough information for me. Last but not least, we have Superzine. Now, Superzine, you know, is a compound that's derived from the Superzine serrata plant. Now, I will include a picture of that. Now, we have research to back up this plant now, you know, which is known as a nootropic formula. So this ingredient is included to try to sell you on the fact that it's a nootropic blend that is gonna help with cognitive function, things of that sort. So it's more than just you having a pump in the gym, you have laser focus and things of that sort. The typical amount is gonna be anywhere from 50 to 200 micrograms per day. We're gonna be sitting at 50 micrograms, for 1 scoop, 100 micrograms for 2 scoops. So we're sitting right there in the middle on that. That's all the ingredients. Now, what are my thoughts? So, this pre-workout, for the most part, it's pretty good. It takes a minute for it to kick in, I will say. For some odd reason, I think the dicaffeine malate really is higher than what it appears to be on this supplement list, I believe. But that's something that can't necessarily be perfected in every recipe. You know, even manufacturers aren't able to do that, you know, for it to be perfect on point in every scoop all the time, especially when you're dealing with malic acid and you're dealing with separation of certain binding molecules and you're getting everything to remain stable in every single jar. For that to be the case, you know, it's a possibility. Nonetheless, I do feel like it takes a long time to kind of have an onset. It just takes a minute for it to kick in. But once it kicks in, it's pretty good, not even gonna lie. The pumps on it is very, very good. I love the fact that it has Himalayan pink salt in it. I'm a big fan of that. Himalayan pink salt ingested right before pre-workout is perfect for the gym. Great pumps, you get great vascularity, especially if you are very dry that day. It's just perfect for it. Some of the other things I did notice besides the slow onset was, I guess for this flavor, the 3-peat flavor in particular, it's supposed to be somewhat of a Smarties type of flavor. I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm just being completely honest. It's good and then it's bad. I don't know if you ever drunk a Smarties, but if you were to take a Smarties, crush it up, put it into a juice, and drink that, that's the flavor of this pre-workout. So, you know, take that as how you will. It's all right, but it is kind of, it's kind of just a trippy flavor overall. I think it's a good mid-tier. Is it low in efficacious amounts for a lot of these ingredients? Yes. A lot of them is not even reaching the mark of it being even somewhat bioavailable in the body. Unfortunately, this is a norm within the pre-workout, and you'd be surprised how much products you see that are literally just caffeine and creatine, and they will call it a pre-workout. I'm sorry, but that's not a pre-workout. What is a pre-workout supposed to consist of? Caffeine and a various mix of other ingredients that's supposed to allow me to have a great pump in the gym, killer focus, allow me to get in there, get the job done, and get out. You're not gonna do that with just some caffeine, a little bit of creatine, and some vitamins stacked on top. And you're sure as hell not gonna do that with efficacious amounts that are below what's bioavailable within the body. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 as far as efficacious amounts. You got some good stuff in there, Chris. Got great stuff. But you could bump up some of those dosages on some of those other ingredients. I understand it gets expensive. I understand there's always the issues of it being stable. I've tried to produce my own type of supplements myself and contacted many manufacturers myself. So I know the difficulties of what it comes to when you're trying to create a supplement and allow it to be stable and be a proper powder that's not gonna cake up, that's not gonna clunk up, that's not gonna fault when you try to put it into a cup and then it doesn't even break down. So I understand the issues, but you can still get some of these amounts at a proper efficacious amount so that it's actually better bioavailability within the body. That's my thoughts on it, guys. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. Please leave any comments down below for anything you want me to talk about next. We got another product review gonna be coming soon. I'm gonna be reviewing a couple more proteins. Of course, I got a few more pre-workouts that I'm gonna be reviewing. All bodybuilding news and all unbiased thoughts. This is any coming from Holy Kinetics. Peace, guys.